You followed the rules. You did the work. You showed up in all the right ways for all the right people for years. And somewhere in there, while you were being so reliably useful, you disappeared. And nobody said a word because you disappearing was actually very convenient for everyone around you. And now you're standing in the middle of a life that technically has everything in it and you can't find yourself anywhere. And there's this fog. It's not exactly sadness. It's not a breakdown. It's just this low-grade discombobulation that follows you around like you forgot something important and you can't remember what. Hey, I'm Sheila. I am not a coach. I'm not a guru. I'm just your 55-year-old auntie who did everything right and found in my 50s that the whole thing was a setup. In the last video, I talked about the moment the life that you built stops making sense. This video is about what happens after that. This is the part where you realize that the problem isn't that you don't know what to do. It's that you've only ever known how to do what was expected. I know what being lost in the fog feels like. I don't mean that I've done research and studied up on it. I mean that I've been standing in it, in my own kitchen with the fridge open like it was going to tell me something useful about who I am now. But you know what? All I ever get is the judgment of that cucumber that I bought during a previous personality. I don't think anybody calls this a midlife crisis anymore because crisis implies something dramatic happened. This is a lot quieter than that. This is just turning 50-something and then discovering that the floor that you spent your entire life building was never actually there. I felt lost and I couldn't explain why. And that was almost worse than the fog itself. And now the part of me that always knew what to do has no idea what to do next. And that version of me is pissed. She ran this place on fear, guilt, and a suspiciously detailed mental checklist. And now we're questioning her leadership. I mean, I was trained to be useful, pleasant, employable, responsible, and quiet. I just wasn't trained for the moment that I'd look around and realize that I had become the manager of a life that I wasn't living. There's a reason that this is happening right now, at this specific age, in this specific way. And it's not the reason that anyone's going to give you. But I think that it's going to make a very uncomfortable amount of sense. This feeling of being lost in the fog looks like waking up and lying there an extra 20 minutes, not because you're tired, but because you genuinely don't know what version of yourself that you're supposed to be today. It looks like a calendar full of things that you said yes to, and you can't remember why you said yes to a single one of them. Not one. You're just showing up to your own life like it's a shift you can't call out of. It looks like someone asking what you've been up to and making a split-second decision about whether to tell the truth or perform a version of fine that doesn't invite follow-up questions. You always choose fine because fine is faster, because you've been performing fine for so long that it barely costs anything anymore. It looks like not being able to make a decision that you've made thousands of times before. What to cook, where to go, what you want, and feeling like you forgot how to do something that you've done your whole life, like someone changed the combination on a lock that you've opened every day for years. It looks like sitting in the car before going inside, not crying, just not doing anything, just sitting there like you're waiting for a signal that it's safe. Sometimes you're just exhausted at performing you, and you just need a few more minutes. I've done that, which is insane because I'm 10 feet from the life that I supposedly wanted. And that's what made all of this so disorienting. Nothing was catastrophically wrong. I had a house. I had my husband, Doug. I have Posey, whose entire contribution was shin cuddles and an adorable grumble. And honestly, that's more than enough. I had a life that from the outside looked like evidence of a person who had it reasonably together. And I still couldn't find myself anywhere in it. Like I'd built this whole thing and then realized that I'd forgotten to put a room in it for me. When does it hit you? Is it when someone asks you what you want? When you sit down to do something for yourself and you just can't? Drop it in the comments where I read every one. The fog isn't random. Oh no. And it doesn't just sit there. It moves in a pattern and it keeps showing up right after the same kind of moment. A moment where you reach for something to tell you who to be and nothing is there. Someone asks you what you want and you genuinely can't answer, not because you're indecisive, but because you reach for the answer and your hand comes back empty. And then you feel vaguely insane because it's a simple question and you've answered harder questions than this before lunch, and yet here you are completely stalled out over something that shouldn't require this much of you. I have solved actual medical emergencies with less drama than it takes me to choose what to make for dinner. You open your laptop to work on something that's supposed to be yours, your idea, your project, your thing. And you sit there doing nothing because without someone waiting for it, without a deadline or a need or a person on the other end expecting something of you, you can't seem to make yourself start. I do that constantly with this channel. I sit down to work and I just sit there. Doug will walk by and he'll say, "Hey, how's it going?" And I'll be like, fine, I'm just thinking. And really what I'm doing is waiting for the feeling that someone needed this from me badly enough that I had no choice but to do it. Because that feeling that someone needs this, that someone's counting on this, that this matters to someone other than me, that was the only ignition that I knew how to use. Take that away and the car doesn't start. It just sits there with the lights on, draining the battery. So you do what makes sense given the only toolkit that you have. You find a need to fill. You check on someone just to have somewhere to put your energy. You answer something that didn't need answering yet. You make yourself useful in small, unnecessary ways because useful is the only gear that you know how to find. Now, if there's not a need nearby, oh, don't worry, you'll make one. People like us are very crafty in the worst possible way. I've texted Doug, you okay? From the next room. He's in there watching television or whatnot, and he's fine. He's fine. I knew he was fine. I needed him to need something. And then you feel guilty about it because you know what you're doing, and you do it anyway because the alternative is sitting in the quiet with no instructions. And that feels unbearable in a way that you can't quite explain to anyone who hasn't felt it before. The fog isn't emptiness. It's what happens when you keep reaching for a signal that isn't coming anymore, and your whole system is sitting on standby waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to want something for yourself. And that's the part that I need you to understand, because this is not confusion. This is old training losing its grip, right? That's right. I said it. The fog you feel today is your training wearing off, which means you feel weird. You feel exposed. You feel like somebody took away the rule book and then had the nerve to leave you alone with your own life. But this is what matters right now. The signal is gone and your body is still acting like it's late for something. That's why the fog feels so strange. It isn't random. It isn't some mysterious midlife personality leak. It's what happens when the old role stops giving orders and some part of you still doesn't know that it's allowed to move on without them. So you scan, right? You scan for a need. You scan for a problem. You scan for someone to disappoint, rescue, manage, soothe, answer, fix, or keep comfortable. And when nothing obvious shows up, your system does not think, "Oh, good. Woo, I've got some free space." No, it thinks something is wrong. Find the assignment. And if there isn't one, you will absolutely invent one. I have rehearsed entire confrontations with people who have no idea that they're in trouble. All right, it was Doug. I was mad at him for something that he hadn't even done and he never even did do. Yeah, that's how I roll. Maybe your kids don't need you the same way that they did, or you don't have any kids and the role was work, family, caregiving, or being the person who always handled it. Maybe your job ended or changed, your marriage settled, or your parents got older, or the thing that used to consume your whole day just stopped consuming it. This is what midlife actually looks like for a lot of us. Not a sports car, not an affair, just every role that you built your identity around hands in its resignation at the same time. Instead of solid ground, you have that open space. And open space, when you've never been taught to stand in it, feels like stepping out of the shower and realizing there's no towel every single time. The silence where the old instructions used to be doesn't feel like freedom yet. It feels like you forgot something and nobody will tell you what. You're not failing the assignment. Hear me now, okay? The assignment has ended and nobody told your nervous system that they could put the pencil down. So, of course, you feel lost. You're standing in the place where the old order stopped working and nothing new has earned your trust yet. That's not failure. That's just the fog doing what the fog does. And that changes the whole question because maybe getting unlost is not the point. You're not lost in the fog because you failed. You're not lost because you took a wrong turn or you let your life slip away while you weren't paying attention. You're lost because you were handed a map early on and you followed it faithfully and you were good at it and you were praised for it. And somewhere in all those years of following it, you forgot that you never actually agreed to the destination. And now the map stopped working. And if you Google this feeling, the internet is going to immediately try to hand you a new map, a better one, a prettier one with a word like becoming on the front, and a woman in linen telling you to trust the process. I've seen that woman. Usually, though, she's on a workbook of some sort, laughing at a salad. But I'm telling you, don't take it. Don't you take it. Not yet. Because what you need right now isn't new instructions. What you need is to stop treating the old ones like they're still true. The fog is not here because you're broken. The fog is here because the old instructions are losing authority, and the version of you that lived by them is panicking a little bit. So no, I'm not going to tell you to find yourself. Nah, not today. Not today. Today, just notice this. Every time you feel like you're in the fog, ask what instruction you're waiting for. Because that stuck feeling may not be confusion. It may be obedience with nowhere left to go. Now, if you're interested, I do offer one-on-ones, workbooks, and a membership, and my Substack is where more of the behind-the-scenes talk happens. All of those links are in the description. Every week, I come here and talk about midlife deprogramming, not self-help, work, money, mental health, starting over, and what happens when the old instructions stop working. If that sounds like your kind of place, hit subscribe. I'd love to have you here. But there's a specific grief that comes with all of this, and it deserves its own damn room. Not the dramatic kind, the one where you look back at the years that you already gave and you have to figure out what to do with that next. That's going to be the next video, and I'm not going to make it comfortable, but I'm also not going to let you call these years wasted. I'll see you there.